Well, hello, I'm here in my studio today. Actually, I'm painting with Everett. He's doing a really fantastic little landscape on one of my photos. A great job. And I actually just did a plein air study here. It was actually, I had just finished up painting with some fellow artists in a neighboring town at someone's studio. And then on the way out of his neighborhood, I came across this awesome barn, and it was raining at the time, but the light was just peeking through, and I just got this 20-minute sketch. Well, anyway, I'm sending this off to a gallery right now, or today I should say, not right now, because first I have to duplicate it just for my own benefit. You know, the benefit of doing plein air is that, or from life, if you want to say it a different way, is that you have the opportunity to capture the real colors the way that you see them with your own eyes and your own mind. And a camera, just as you know, those of you who paint from photos or have ever taken a photo, it just doesn't capture it the same as it is in real life. The camera doesn't see the range of values and colors that our eyes do. So this is an exact perfect representation of the colors as they were filtered through my mind. And before I sell this, I just want, like I said, a record for myself. So I'm going to paint, not an exact copy, but I am going to exactly copy, or as close to it as possible, exactly copy the colors here, while maybe changing a little bit of the layout, the design of it. So here we go. Now, I remember starting with a base of purple. Not that it matters that I exactly match how I did it in the first place, but it might help a little bit. Kind of a purplish blue. I remember starting with the mountains. This has been just it's only a week ago that I did it. But this is a little bit different because usually you're not going to want to try to exactly match the colors, but where the colors themselves are what I consider to be perfect, and where that is the whole point, then I am actually going to be trying to get this to match exactly. What's that, buddy? You can see my makeshift easel here is nothing more than a 1x8 plank. So I'm gonna start by doing the mountain scene, or the mountains. Just try to get the color in there. Need a little bit of thinner. It was a stormy sky. Really cool clouds, darkening everything except for right where that barn is, and that kind of that strip of land right in front of the barn. There's some kind of intense blues and purples that I want to capture, and whether they were there, there in real life, or I just happened to kind of put them in at the moment and they happened to work, that's besides the point. I just want to get them in, get these colors in there, and be as true to, sorry, I'm turning my head away. I want to be as true to the original sketch as I possibly can, because I like this sketch and, you know, its little nuances. So a little lighter than that, just a little bit of white. I usually don't paint against another painting, but this is one that I am going to probably paint over. Usually if a painting sticks around in my studio for too long, if I've worked on it for more than a month or two, then it pretty much is not going to work out. And it took me years and years to realize the benefit of painting over things and just kind of letting go. But I still have trouble with it, so had to let go of this painting a year ago when I realized it wasn't working out. I would have been better off for it. I know some people have a strong opinion about how I video my demonstrations here, hand holding the camera and moving around. And to you guys, I apologize. Don't want to make you dizzy, but I am shooting these videos for the benefit of those who think like I do. This is exactly the way I would have liked to have learned or to have seen. And in fact, I'd still love to see from artists who I admire. Love to see this kind of kids. I would have loved to have seen this type of demonstration, showing the mixing of the colors and all of the details involved in that. So I think the main difference, probably the only difference, and I'm gonna have to think through this carefully. So I was thinking I would scoot this barn over just to there, but but to me the most interesting part is these three shapes together. That area, not necessarily the shapes themselves, but just that area. And I don't know. Maybe I can move the whole barn to the left. But where the barn faces this way, I feel like it would be an injustice to make it face the frame. I like that better, but I don't want to lose that. I don't know. I'll try it. Maybe I'll shrink everything down here so that it can fit better within the canvas. Okay, I'm going to mix up just a dark brown. I've got just burnt sienna and raw umber. I don't usually paint with raw umber, but when I placed a large order of paint, the company accidentally sent me this raw umber and just said I could keep it. And so I've just been using it, and it turns out that I actually like to use it. I'm going to try doing it smaller. I'm just blocking it in, not worrying about the accuracy of the color at this exact moment. I am very pleased with the accuracy of the purples. I'd say it's not a dead-on accurate match, but maybe I can add some more blacks and some more dark purples in there, make it more dynamic. For now, I'll stick with the barn just for a minute. I love the curved top of that. It just shows that it's old. It's been through some things. And where this other house is a very important element, I'm going to just barely indicate the edge of that. Let's see. Kind of play with the horizon down here. Barns have a tendency to be overpainted. I mean, like a lot of artists like to paint them, and because of that, there are a lot of barn paintings out there. But if you can find a way to make your barn painting stand out, not as a portrait of a barn necessarily, but as a just an artistic representation of more of the feeling of the atmosphere on that day, or something about that barn that makes it unique visually and artistically, not just the amazing style of this piece of architecture, but something that sets that painting apart, not just the barn apart. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, that's what you want to go for in your barn paintings. So if you're doing a portrait for somebody that wants a portrait of their barn, you can still capture something about that barn that's artistically stimulating and not just a portrait of a barn. Do both. And I'm just blocking in really right now. Not really doing anything special with the colors at the moment. Just trying to see if this will work. There's some little cues here. I don't remember the layout of the land exactly. This was on a hill. I'm kind of looking downhill, but I like that maybe there's some indication of some ditches and berms and things like that around here. Let's see. There's a bunch of sticks or old fence piled up here. So okay, I think I like that layout. Looks like a winter scene right now, but it won't really shortly. Just let me wash my brush. Okay, just got a light blue here. Thanks, buddy. So I'm trying to match this color. It's just blue and white, really. Got a tiny bit of yellow in there and brown, but that's mostly due to my habit of not washing my brush entirely, which I actually like. That's a nice little accidentals in there. And in fact, I'm gonna put just a few brush strokes of brown, and that's exactly what happens in those corresponding places in there. Maybe a little bit more yellow. It's more than I intended, but I like it. So I can't set rules for myself and expect to follow them, because I'm in the process of painting. It's such an organic, spur of the moment type of process that you can't set out to paint something a certain way and expect yourself to stick to that. And if you do stick to that, you're going to miss fantastic opportunities to really create something special. You can see that I've added just a tiny bit of green there. Hardly perceptible, but I like it. I kind of like how this is looking very winter-timey. In fact, I might do another version and just go to this point. Not really this point, but keep everything in the wintertime tones. So I like the design, and the fact that this has this wintertime scene as a backdrop. I think that accentuates that impression in my mind. Anyway, that is about to change. Well, let's see, not quite yet. I'm going to do this color now. And I remember having a difficult time with this because I waited too long when I was doing this sketch. I didn't put this color in until the sun had gone away. It only stayed for maybe 10 minutes. And so I was just tried to get this as close as I could. And I remember thinking, oh, that's a little bit too brown. It should have been more weathered, more blue. So having said that, I don't know. I'll do one or the other. I'll try it both ways. Needs a little bit of brown in it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not liking it. Well, maybe, but not quite that much. Just a word on the location of my studio. I love that it's attached to the house, and that it's I'm very much a part of what's going on in the rest of the house with my family. Everybody has their preferred way of working, and I find that it's a very welcome thing in my situation to hear what's going on and to feel like I'm a part of my family's life. And of course they're welcome to come in and come and go as they please. It's kind of always been my policy, and I like it that way. Alright, you know what? I actually like this better than this. I like that there's a little bit more blue in it. I also like that there's a little bit more structure in the roof. A little more simplistic there. Neither one is necessarily better than the other. I just like that I can explore different options with the same scene. In fact, I love that this one is centered and this one is not. I love them both. I think there are good things about both of those. Okay, I'm going to quickly... Well, I was going to say I was going to wash my brush, but I'm going to move on to some other colors, and I don't really need to do that because they're similar. So first I'm going to do that color of that tree because mostly because it is so similar. Oh, it's basically an orange. We'll see. I think that's going to be too light, but I'll see. A little bit too light. Also, maybe a little bit more purple and yellow. Purple just to darken it down and kind of drab it, make it less intense of an orange. So add a hair more yellow. I'm trying, you see how big of a brush this is. It's huge. I'm painting this whole painting with it. That definitely serves to retain the plein air essence of a painting. It makes a big, big difference. I'm forcing myself to not be too detailed. Another one is that I'm trying to, even though I am trying to literally match these colors, which is very, very much against what I do when I'm painting from a photo, I'm trying to still be intuitive about my color choices. Oh, I just absolutely love how this has become a wintertime scene. Goodness, I love it. But I'll go ahead and see it through to completion because this painting is on its way, or the original there is on its way out the door very soon. In fact, I need to package it right now. I really should be packaging it right now. But so I'll see it through to completion so that I have that reference. And I can do a wintertime scene from it later, which I've never done before. I've never done a wintertime scene from an autumn sketch. I am enjoying that idea. Isn't that fun when you get excited about art on such a basic level? And art is exciting, and it should be exciting. And to see a simple landscape, something that we see all the time in our daily comings and goings to town or whatever, and to experience a unique joy. I think that's at the very essence of why we create traditional art, representational art. It's to bring these common subjects to a higher plane of understanding and appreciation. See how I blocked in that painting in a very loose manner, or that tree. And then I'm going back in with just some lighter, brighter details, little highlights here, and those few really kind of give the finished impression of that tree without having to do every detail. You can see how it's similar, not exactly the same, but close enough. And more importantly, I'm happy with it. I think it's important to say it again and to emphasize that, again, even though I am trying to copy the colors here, I am not trying to copy the painting. Hopefully I'll get an entirely new perspective on this subject because of doing this painting, and others will see it in an entirely new light. So in other words, the person who buys this painting, hopefully soon, will be able to look at this one and say, oh wow, that's that same place, and same type of day, but it's a totally different feeling, or it's a totally different painting. I want that to come across. Why do a painting twice and say the exact same thing? It just waters down everything. Some of my favorite paintings are because they're in a series. Oh, let me turn off my alarm here. It's fun to see a particular spot painted in different types of weather, in different seasons. Monet did it, of course, and lots of artists do it. And it's fun for people to see. It's fun to do, certainly. And it's a way to really to show an audience in a digestible way just how many perspectives you can get from a single scene, and in that way a series of paintings of the same subject can serve to further enhance and highlight the importance of a seemingly mundane scene. Kids are having fun on the piano with their friend. Okay. Do I want to leave that house out? No. Well, I don't know. It would certainly change the feeling of it. Maybe I'll leave that house out when I do the wintertime version of this and keep it that way. I am now going to, work on this orange colored thing. I think there were shingles, like asphalt shingles that were put on the bottom of it. I couldn't quite tell from the distance that I was, but I had very obviously orange color to them. So, gonna, the color there doesn't matter to me as much as the color difference between dark and the light side. And when I was painting this, I realized that the difference here was not enough. I should have done this a little bit darker, or do this a little bit lighter, although this compared to that needed to be about where it is. So perhaps I needed to lighten this as well, which I've kind of done here. So we'll see how it works out here. So I've kind of mixed up my darker side, so the shadow side, right there. Doing a very general block in of it, and often that'll be enough. I don't have to go back in and add any detail, because the little color changes on my non-washed brush kind of do it for me. And they're not accidental, there's only an accident if you leave it, or if you leave it knowing that it's wrong. But if you leave it knowing that it's on purpose, then it's not an accident anymore. It's a very calculated decision to leave it. All right, there are some shadows here, but okay, now I want to get to my brush is getting a little bit heavy with paint, so I'm just gonna wipe some of that off. All right, now I can go right into the lighter color. Looking over at the original here. Yeah, we'll see. You never know for sure till you get it on the... well, that's brighter than I expected it to be, but I kind of like it. Maybe a little bit more red, or a lot. Yeah, I like those next to each other. Okay, just going to put kind of a transitional color. I shouldn't say transitional color, because it's not halfway between those two colors, but more like, I guess, a shadow. And you saw how I just almost as an accident, not an accident, I just kind of was playing around. I put that blue color in. I really like that. As I mentioned, it's not an accident if you decide to leave it there. So there it stays. Put a little window there, just like it is in there. There are some things I like better about this. Again, I think I perfected that color difference there. And yeah, that one's fine too. It works. But it's even better in this one. Or more to my, it's more correct according to how it was. Let's see. I'm trying to be as intuitive with the color mixing and the brushwork as I was with the sketch. And if you get too caught up in copying, then that's very difficult to do that, to be intuitive. All right, well, I've still got this heavy amount of paint on my brush. I'm going to go ahead and mix a little bit of black with burnt sienna, like this. More on the brown side, there we go. There are a couple places where I can use this. First of all, for this deep accent here, I don't want to go you know, a straight perfect line, kind of go broken. First of all, because the rafter tails were sticking out and making a pattern of shadows. But even though those were perfectly spaced, I don't really want to perfectly space these. It's just more interesting, I think, to have a broken line. I think this one was done perfectly, and yeah, that one's fine too. Although I like a little more of a determined or descript brush stroke. So don't want to overdo it though. Okay. Let's see, there's that thing coming off there. I really want a barn. I can't even tell you. Someday I'm going to build one, but it'd be difficult to build a 100-year-old barn without waiting 100 years. But I'll certainly try. I will try my best. There used to be a 3-story barn on this property that burned down 30 years ago or so, maybe 40 years ago. But it would have been one of the bigger barns in the neighborhood. Also, at some point, the old house we live in, would have been one of the nicer houses. But it underwent so many remodels at different time periods that it, there was barely anything left of the former original glory of the house. I love old houses. I love old barns. Things with history that show that time has worn them away a little bit. And the fact that they're still standing, that's the other half of the equation. So, got some great, these golden colors in the grass. The grass is, kind of dead. So to compare that with here, so I'm basically doing these colors and, not putting them in the exact same places, but let's see. So I've got a mix more of that bright autumn time grass color, that lingering green. It's quite bright, just the way it is in real life. Just a few other spots in there that are based on that green. Add a little bit of purple to this part. Let it run into the brown a little bit. Just get a nice rainbow of colors, I guess. Some nice brushwork there to indicate some grass, some tall grasses next to the fence line that'll go in there in a minute. To compare that with what's there. In the original, there are some nice violets in there. And if there's any color that needs to be painted in a landscape, it's those violets. That and the browns. Cameras usually fail to capture the amount of violet in a scene. And if you ever photograph your scenes through a car window, then you know for sure that they never look the same. And it's almost always disappointing because it filters out most of the violet with that slightly green shaded safety glass. any of you are aware of that, if you're painting from photos, then that's fine. You can compensate for it. And there's a shadow of the barn running behind there. I think I need to make it a little bit sharper. I made it roughly that soft in the original, but I need to make it a little bit harder. And that will help to convince the mind that it was a nice sunny day, which it was when I started. Not when I ended, though. By the way, it was totally raining on me. I don't know if I mentioned that by the time I finished. And in fact, you can see right here, which I think just totally adds to the painting. I love this. You can see where the raindrops hit this so hard that it splashed the thinned down paint I had up here and got it on the other part. I thought about painting it out, but I left it on purpose. It was just kind of I think, an added facet to that experience that was recorded there. That brush stroke needs to be a little bit lighter, more yellow as well, possibly. Yeah, that's better. Okay, time to paint in these houses that are in the background, or middle ground. And to do that, to do those nice, bright, and pure colors, that yellow and that yellow tinted white, I need to wash my brush completely. So I will do that. Alright, I'm also going to clean off, whoops, where's my big palette knife? There it is. I'm going to clean off my palette. My process of wiping my brush off, or of totally cleaning it, consists of simply wiping off the excess with a paper towel and then brushing it off in the mineral spirits. And the mineral spirits that I use are, it's Gamsol is one of them, and then the other one is called, where's my can? Called Neutral Thin, I believe it is. Yeah, Neutral Thin by Eco House. They're essentially chemically the same thing. They smell exactly the same. They perform the same. So I'm going to assume that they're the same chemical composition. Unfortunately, neither of those are strong enough to completely dissolve the solids, the paint solids, and so they completely closed off the little cracks in between the coils here. This old jar with an aluminum wire coil in it. So I'm actually going to take out that coil soon and replace it with a sheet, or a little piece that I've cut from some 1/4 inch mesh hardware cloth. And I think that'll work a little bit better. But I've always used that kind of a jar. It's like called a silicoil. It's just $8 or something.
What is it?
It's meant for washing brushes, but it's not meant to have that particular kind of chemical in it because it's not strong enough to do the job, but works for me. Alright, I've wiped down the palette with a paper towel, and it's nice and shiny, as you can see. So now I've got to get more yellow paint. I'm always experimenting with different brands. This one happens to be Windsor Newton Cadmium Yellow Pale. Well, Cad Yellow Pale is my go-to yellow, but the brand is not necessarily the one that I always go with. But this is a very strong color, this brand. I like it very much, but it is about $55 for that tube. Cadmium is always expensive. But anyway, okay, back to this. I don't like to usually see in my own work or in others a color that's too mixed, you know, too perfectly mixed together. I like it when there's a little bit of, you know, difference from one side to the other. And if there's not enough difference, I'll create a difference with another brush stroke. But if I can get it all in one stroke, it's even better. Let's see. Go for a more you know, ochre type of color. This other house. One on that side. So you can see that I'm putting down a thick amount of paint where I want a sharp line, and then I want a sharp line there as well because that's the roof line. Get some more paint. Uh-oh, what's wrong with banjo? And then I lightly drag the edge of this brush with those loose hairs, very lightly, against that tree. So it gives the impression of sticks and branches. It's just, I think it's just a beautiful texture without having to go in and paint individual branches, which would just be a travesty. It would overpaint. It would have a tendency to create an overpainted look. Right, and in preparation for the window that's about to go here, I'll do these shutters first. These white shutters. Yeah, they're white, but they're also a little bit yellow, so I'll do that. Well, I've got this color on my brush. Mix kind of a halfway tone between the tone of the side of the barn and that bright house back there. And just kind of, well, this is really what happens in real life. You know, you get this type of halo effect where colors that are next to each other sort of influence each other, particularly a bright color against a dark one. Yeah, it's more realistic, and it's more interesting, I think. Okay, without motioning my brush, I'm just adding a little bit of purple and blue to try to get a gray. Oops, focus, there we go. A little bit darker maybe, so a little bit more purple and blue. And this will actually work for my window too. Just a single brush stroke if I can get away with it. There we go. All right. It's coming together. Almost there. Almost done. Start to got the little grasses that are along this tree line or fence line. Both. Tree line and fence line. Seems to be a common thing for them to be together. Alright, there are some old structures there. So brown and purple, again using those all important colors together. Once I realized how much violet there is in a landscape painting, and started using it the way it was, you know, to the level that it really exists, it vastly improved my landscape work. You don't want to overdo it either. You don't want to be gimmicky about anything or formulaic. But look for opportunities to to paint using purple and brown. Burnt sienna, and that's my preference. Doesn't have to be yours though. Just getting some of these colors to repeat in different places here. I'm painting in some of the shadow lines and little indicators of shadows in preparation for the final thing in this painting, which is just the fence posts, which kind of serve to, I don't know, I like fence posts. Not only are they a true representation of what was here that day, but they're a very common thing in the country. And this place is actually country that's, for however you feel about progression, it's largely been taken over by houses, which I personally hate to see, although I know that people have to have a place to live. But it's unfortunate that a lot of these barns don't exist anymore. They're harder and harder to come by. Some of my favorite barns have been bulldozed. It's just really sad. But I guess that's a good reason to be capturing them. And like I said, I'm going to build my own someday. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to take a little bit more brown. Going to get a little bit more. I say a little bit more, but I'm going to get some medium. Or, well, my medium is just that thinner. And I'm going to do some of these fence posts. Again, with this big brush, and you can get a remarkable size difference depending on how you hold the brush. And I don't want to be too exact with these, with either the spacing or the sizing of these fence posts. I love old fence posts that are kind of, it's almost like they're made up on the spot. The farmer needed to fix the fence and he grabbed the closest stick that he could find that was big enough. And I'm sure that's probably pretty close to what happened. That's what I do. If I need to make a fence, if the pig is getting out, like this morning, I grab the nearest thing. I don't run to town to grab a perfect fence post that's going to match. I grab a stick or a metal pole, or pipe or something, and I tie it together with baling twine. If that's the first thing I can reach. So it's kind of that farmer spirit a little bit. The true old way, I guess I should say. The way of the small farmer. All right. You know what? I think it's about all I can do to this before it takes a turn for the worse. There's always that magical point where you've done it just enough, and if you take it one step further, it'll not be as good. I don't like that piece of green was so big. All right, well, so there's the original. There's the copy of the original, or you know what I mean. It's essentially a copy, but not a copy at the same time. So, hope you enjoyed that. I'll get this and the other ones sent off to the gallery. Hopefully they'll sell soon. And I'm gonna probably keep this one and use it as reference for some other pieces that are of the same scene. Probably frame it and hang it on my wall because I like it that much. I couldn't bear to part with that one without making a copy. So, all right. Well, I'm going to put a link up here to a video. I hope you'll watch it. It's one that I published and then it was listed as private for several months, and then when I finally did list it as public, it wasn't announced to anybody. So you probably have not seen it, but it's up, I think there, maybe there. In the description, yeah, it's up there. And in the end card, so look for that. Also a link down below for that video. It's a good one, a full-length one, but a very short full-length one of a plein air painting of a barn. All right, well, thanks for watching. Hope you'll join me next time. Make sure and subscribe if you haven't, so you'll be notified of when I put out a new video. And I hope you have a great day. Talk to you later, bye. Actually, I need to put in this opening up there. And a couple small openings down here. Okay, and that should do it. All right.